My name is MK. I'm a producer DJ. I started when I was 14, and it was because I wasn't so much interested in making music as I was into the actual gear, synthesizers mainly. And once I got into synthesizers, then I started teaching myself how to produce. And I was 14 at the time, so I couldn't really afford, a lot of the gear because it was really expensive back then. And I started with like a Juno 106, that was like my first piece, and then got a Yamaha sequencer, and then added drum machines, and then I always loved mixers. Could never really obviously afford the mixer I wanted. And then when I got older, I got a record deal. Then I started going to studios to record. And I started going to like Electric Lady in New York and studios in Detroit. And that's when I started seeing like the big Neve mixers and the ones that cost $1 zillion. So I've always been like obsessed with like wanting to own just outboard gear. And even to this day, I'm in the box, but I'm not in the box. I still prefer analog equipment. I'm in the box because I use Logic, but for the most part, I try to keep a lot of analog gear around. I trust analog gear more. It's like I can see a really nice plugin with really nice graphics. It could be emulation, but I just don't trust it compared to like the original hardware. Some older producers are like that, but it's just like, I just prefer analog. I just trust it more. So for example, the 33609, I like running my mix through it. I trust that rather than a plugin to run my mix through. The OPX was important for me to get because I have a lot of synths. Synths, not cents, synths. I have like 20, like vintage keyboards, and it's important that I get a really clean signal when I'm recording with them. And once this came out, I was like, that's it, that's what I need. Well, the OPX fits in my system so well because I have so many synthesizers. I have so many vintage synthesizers. I have Oberheims, Moogs, old Rolands, and a lot of times before I had the OPX, I would record them into my setup, and it would just either be noisy or just not as clean as I would want it. You couldn't really hear it the way you want to hear those synths. And so with the OPX, I have it set up behind me. I have 8 lines ready to go at any time because I have so many keyboards I cannot fit in my studio. So I bring keyboards in and out, and I have just my inputs ready to go. It makes it a lot easier. Because I know, sometimes before I had the OPX, I'm just kind of figuring out where to patch it in on the console, and then I'm spending, 20 minutes just trying to make sure the level's right and all that. But it's so much easier with the OPX now. And the other thing is I didn't realize that it came with an app, and the app works perfectly. It's not over USB, it's over Ethernet. And you can literally switch the levels on your computer, and you can watch the levels turn on the actual hardware unit. And it saves it. So like per song, you can just save your setup. If I have like 5 different synthesizers that I'm using on a certain song, I can save the setup. And when I recall the song on Logic, just recall it on the Neve software, and it's right there. And I've never seen that before with hardware and software that work like that together. I love the fact that you can recall the levels with the app. Like I said, it's like, I'll take analog any day over anything. Being able to use analog and integrate it with my computer is like perfect. I wish every piece of gear did that actually. It would save everybody a lot of time, every producer. Well, I have the USB Dante card, and I'm not too familiar with Dante yet, but I want to get to use it because it sounds so interesting to me. But I do have it aggregated with my Pro Tools. So when I'm using Logic, I have like 32 tracks of Pro Tools, and I have my 8 outputs of the Neve, which is excellent. Because I only have, my console has 48 input output. But now with the 32 plus the other 8, it's kind of perfect. Using the OPX is like the first time that I can plug in my vintage keyboards and hear every single thing in it. It sounds warm. It sounds like it sounded in the 80s. When I was growing up listening to these synthesizers. Because, well, people who don't know, there is a big difference in what the way you hear those vintage keyboards. And with the OPX, you can hear it the way it was meant to be heard. I do want to own a Neve console. I don't know which one yet, but I do want to own one. So we'll see. I haven't really looked to see what's new yet, what fits my my setup and my budget. But I do plan on owning a Neve console at some point.